Welcome to the top 50 tracks of all time. In case you've forgotten, I'm Mark Denise, and today we are moving on to number 8 of the top 10. Two things from the trivia are going to be popping up here. The first is, the first time I use this, a non-mover. The first of the two non-movers in the chart. Audrey actually had forgotten she'd done me a little image for this, as it was so long ago, and this is the first time it's been used. And the track is from the year 2000. The other thing I'm going to answer here is one of the new artists that haven't featured in the top 50 so far, so feature for the first time in the top 10. I actually said there was 4 that hadn't featured and 5 that have. It's actually 6 that have and 3 that haven't. Obviously the numbers don't add up there because there's only 9, but then you can sort of maybe guess why that is. I won't tell you that one. I'm not giving away too much if you haven't worked it out already. But this is one of the 3 now, not 4. This is one of the 3 artists that have not appeared so far, which would be a shock for a few of you, considering how big this artist is for me, but also interesting that my family have not mentioned at any point during the 50 that they wondered where this particular artist was, which they questioned where Floyd were quite early in the chart, but then guessed that Pink Floyd will be higher up, and so relaxed with that one. But this one they didn't, which suggests I'm not playing them that much anymore, and definitely not as much as in the early 2000s. This one came from 2000. It comes off this album, Daisies of the Galaxy, Eels. I actually think this is probably, even though I haven't really put a huge amount of effort into the later stuff, it's the first maybe 4 or 5 albums that I listen to a lot. Out of those, this is probably my weakest album. I'd say Electroshock Blues, definitely the best, and then probably Souljacker, although I don't actually think that album's called Souljacker anymore. There's a song on it called Souljacker. So I'm getting completely confused as to how their setup is. You know, the first album I got was Beautiful Freak, and that album I was pretty addicted to for quite some time, listening to it endlessly. And then Electroshock Blues came out, which completely blew me away in theme and idea, and it works extremely well as an album. And then came Daisies of the Galaxy, which I loved in the beginning. There's a lot of silliness about it, which was quite fun after the very much doom and gloom of Electroshock Blues, which gives you a little indication of the title there. But this one is a super negative song. I don't think I've mentioned the song yet, actually, and I'm not going to give it its full original title because I have my children watching this and other children maybe watching it as well. I just found out a few days ago that an American release actually released this on the label as It's a Mother Trucker. So I suppose that's what I'll call it, but basically just substitute trucker for another word and you've got the title of the song. The shortest one in the top 10, but one of the most powerful, obviously, or the 8th most powerful. It comes in at 2 minutes something, 2:12, I think, but packs a lot into that 2 minutes. Not a lot of lyrics in there. The lyrics have been interpreted in 2 different ways, both of which just as viable, I would say, in that one of the ideas is that it's a relationship breakup, and this is the aftermath of a relationship breakup. So it's the protagonist who's singing and talking about how tough it is being on your own after a breakup. The other interpretation, which I've only heard about recently, is that it's regarding death and losing someone who you care about and being alone in that way. That can make sense, especially being the Electroshock Blues is basically about the lead singer, Mr. E, about his mother dying of cancer and his sister committing suicide. So obviously there's two deaths in that album. But seeing as this album's a bit mashed up, either interpretation works. I've seen it as breakup from the moment I heard it, which kind of fits in with my love of that as a theme. You know, it's just this, you know, I've listened to this during breakups as well. And it struck a chord there, but it still does. Even though I'm in a very solid and happy relationship at the moment, I still can get affected by the whole theme and the power of the song. Very slow, very melancholic, and just the finest thing this band have done. I've been kind of reluctant to say little things like that because I'm obviously giving away that the band are not appearing again. But I suppose we'll just have to live with that now. There's so few songs left. It'd be kind of weird to have like 4 Eels in the top 10 when they haven't featured at all yet. Seen these a few times. I think this is the artist I said I'd seen the most, along with New Order. I've seen them at least once in England. That was in Manchester at the Bridgewater Hall with Athena and with my sister Catherine and with my best friend Greg. And then I saw them in Stockholm in a venue called Nalen, I think it's called, with Athena. And that was a crazy concert because that was a case of first they did an encore and then they did a second encore, and then all the lights went on. And obviously when all the lights go on, you know it's time to go. But because I'm always this, I don't want to be out too early, I kind of hung on a bit. And just as about maybe 15, 20 of us, the last of the gang, were walking out the door, they suddenly reappeared and played another song. So there were 20 of us in the concert venue for that last track, which was pretty impressive. I kind of enjoyed that one. And then me and Wolfram went to see them last year, I think, in Debaser in Stockholm. So I've been to see them twice in Stockholm now, and that was a pretty cool concert as well. And I found out afterwards, because I thought Wolfram was a bit of a fan, I'd asked him if he wanted to come along, and then he admitted afterwards that he didn't really know too much about them. But he enjoyed the concert anyway. But that was a pretty cool concert. I still think my favourite was the one in Manchester, because that was when they were doing their Live with Strings. So it was their known songs from these albums, but with classical touch to them and some little variants there that were really, really impressive. So it was a fantastic concert, that one. 3 sounds too little. I'm pretty sure I've seen them somewhere else, but I'll rewrite that issue. There's a few issues I've come up with in these videos so far, so I'll rewrite that if I remember it. It's funny because I've been watching the news recently with Athena, and every other day the cultural news has to announce that they made a mistake with some of their reporting. So if the professionals can do it, then I'm sure I can as well. But have a listen. I'm not going to be able to hide the lyrics from my children when they listen to the song, but I can still do it when I do this particular recording. So go and have a listen to It's a Mother Trucker. It's such a great title, that one. I can still see why the US came up with that. Yeah, just sit back and enjoy. If you're not in a great mood, it'll probably bring you to tears. If you're in a good mood, you can just enjoy it. But it's listen to it for the fantastic, fantastic record it is. And I will see you tomorrow for number 7. Goodbye.